Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melarka Williams, founder and CEO at Ingenuity Technologies. And the Hive is a subsidiary of Ingenuity Technologies. And, thank you for joining us for this webinar. Today we have Ms. Therese Turner-Jones, country representative for IDB. And we have Carol Robertson, Director of Enterprise and Government and IT Solutions from Flow. So I just wanted to start out by saying thank you to our sponsors, who is actually helping to make everything possible. Cable and Wireless Business, Flow Foundation, and also Gustavus, and our various partners such as Jampro and Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association. So essentially, we're going to be talking today about the Hive. What the Hive? So the Hive is essentially a freelance platform that actually connects businesses with employers and agencies. The idea is that we'd have the best freelancers and agencies from the Caribbean, and persons from, employers from within the Caribbean and also from different parts of the world will be able to post projects on the platform. And then once they've actually posted those projects on the platform, the freelancers and agencies can actually bid on those specific projects. We think that it's very timely now for us to put a product like this on the market. Essentially, COVID-19 has disrupted a lot of industries. It has disrupted our lifestyle, and more importantly, it has actually disrupted the way that we work. Right? Everybody is actually required. Well, most persons are actually, most companies have implemented work from home solutions where you can actually work from anytime, anywhere. And, with the concept of freelancing and specifically what we're doing, freelancing for digital talent, companies from all over the world are going to be able to employ or engage freelance talents in the way that they want to engage them. Now, another interesting thing is, another interesting play on what we're actually doing is, we also want to partner with companies that are also going to be making persons redundant. Because when persons are actually made redundant, it's a really tough time for them. And, if you're actually made redundant, one of the things that you want to find very, very quickly is a chance for you to actually be employed again. So we're looking to partner with companies that are looking to looking to furlough persons, looking to lay persons off, so that those persons can actually sign up on this platform and they can become freelance and they can actually use their existing skills to find employment. And I mean, what are some of the jobs? What are some of the jobs that persons can actually find on this platform? If you're a developer, if you're an engineer, you're a web designer, you're a data entry analyst, you're an attorney, pretty much anything that you can do on a computer. You can actually, pretty much anything that you can do on a computer, you can sign up on this platform. And then once you've actually signed up on this platform, you can actually start bidding for jobs. All right, so I'm actually going to jump, right into it. First I want to, find out from, my panelists, like, I want to talk about, the first question is, why should businesses use the Hive? I just want to delve into what are some of the challenges that you're seeing that actually, that's actually happening in the environment. That you think that now is actually a good time for businesses to use a freelance platform. And I mean, totally open. I mean, we can just have a conversation about that a little bit.
Shall I start?
Yeah, sure.
Well, Melarka, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be here on this panel and to be here with Carol to have this chat with you. I think this topic is spot on, and this platform couldn't have come at a better time for all the reasons you just described, but also because if you look at crises, there are always two ways to look at it, right? Crises prevent some people from performing well, and then on the other hand, crises also present opportunities. So there'll be a group of people who will see opportunities in crises. And I think that's how we have to look at this global pandemic, because it's been, not only is it broad and deep, meaning it's all over the planet and it's affecting every single industry, although clearly travel and tourism is being affected much more negatively than some other sectors. And our region, of course, Jamaica included, tourism weighs so heavily, as Carol was saying before we started, that the travel and tourism industry is really weighing heavily on the prospects for the Caribbean region and specifically for Jamaica. So I think it's a great opportunity. I'm also a big fan of the gig economy, which is basically saying what freelancing is, right? Not just because of enterprises like Uber and all these Airbnb and so on, but think about something as simple as what happened to me this week. I needed a cake and I needed it quickly, and I just put out a call to a friend. I said, so-and-so, can you send me that number of the person who made those fantastic cupcakes you had the other day? I called, I said, can you get me this cake? Because I need it for Wednesday. She said, well, yeah, I can have it ready for you tomorrow. And in no time, I went, picked up the cake, beautiful, done. That's the gig economy. That's freelancing, right? But I think apart from the fact that people have had to figure out their skill sets to keep themselves economically viable, all businesses, including governments, have had to figure out, how do I still stay connected to my clients in this kind of absolute lockdown on face-to-face interactions, right? And Jamaica is not in full lockdown, but some countries like the Bahamas have had extreme lockdowns. And it's really driven the gig economy in terms of, whether it's food delivery or curbside pickup for this or for that, but most people turn to the digital platform to reinvent themselves. So I think, congratulations to you. I think you hit it. You hit it out of the park.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. I totally agree with all of the perspectives shared just now. And again, welcome to our participants, not on screen. And thank you to the team. Congratulations on the initiative. Definitely, before we entered the realm of pandemic, we were already starting to see the fact that the world and the world of work and the world as it turns in terms of the economies, the market, etc., was no longer dependent on physical workspaces and skills the way we have honed them in the past. We are seeing a lot more technology, which has resulted in a lot of automation. And so the fundamental skill sets that maybe myself, I'll keep myself in that bracket, grew up in as being, those are the skills and the talents that you need in order to get your ambitions achieved through elevation in the workplace. They're no longer there. We have automated a lot of the processes within the workplace. And so we established last year, the year before, that the concept of the knowledge worker. So it's a person who differentiates an organization, a process, a product by the knowledge that they bring to it, not necessarily the ideology or the technology behind the item itself. And I think what has happened is that our space now in the pandemic has actually accelerated that. We saw already where our youngsters coming out of tertiary institutions, the youngsters with masters, they just continue to study all the way through to the master's degree. They also came out of that studies phase not wanting to go into a 9-to-5 job. They want to be able to work online, wherever, dressed in whatever, at whatever hour suits them. And so this digital desire was emerging and has emerged. The challenge that we had, though, is that there was not a central point or a controlled way to identify and participate in all the opportunities that were out there. So the ability to link the contractee, as it will be now, and not so much the employee, with the contractor and not necessarily the employer, has been difficult and overwhelming to the point where you will see that persons will have so many things coming at them, but no tools to distill what is a good opportunity, what is not, what is going to have the kind of life in terms of short-term, medium or long-term engagement that I as an individual am looking for. You have some persons who want several short-term and some people who would love to get something long-term. But how do you identify of all the things that you're seeing out there online, what is the route that I should take? And how do I get the people who I want to see me to see me? And so I think that is really the divide that the Hive will deal with and bridge the gap there and provide a structured and trustworthy way for people to just connect outside of our traditional social media and web tools. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, well said. I mean, really excellent points from Therese and Carol. And certainly one of the things that we're seeing certainly is that there's a difference, you know, like a small to medium-sized business and a large enterprise business might engage, like for example, a freelance talent or talent. One of the things that we're seeing is from a strategic or from a digital transformation perspective, we're seeing that large enterprises normally they would have a digital transformation plan or they'd have a digital transformation roadmap, you know, because they would have created this strategy internally or externally through a consulting firm, you know, whether they might engage like a McKinsey or any one of these global consultancy firms. But one of the challenges that we saw that they were having was that they have this digital transformation roadmap they actually need to execute on. But, you know, the challenge that they're having is that they don't have the people, you know, to actually execute. They don't have all the resources in house from a people perspective to execute on that specific vision. So they might not necessarily need to have, they might not necessarily have all of the engineers, they might not have all the programmers, they might not have all the finance personnel or the marketing personnel that they actually need. And because they don't have this, a lot of the times they can't execute on that vision that they need to execute on, and they can't properly differentiate themselves in the market. On the small to medium-sized business side, you know, the trend that we've seen is that, you know, these guys, they know that they must go digital. After they know that they must go digital, but for them, they need a more end-to-end solution, right? In terms of they need somebody to tell them where the industry is going or where the world is going, and then they need the persons to actually implement on those specific projects. So there's a slight difference that we're actually seeing in the market from, you know, what a small to medium-sized enterprise need from a resourcing perspective and what a large enterprise actually needs. But it really goes back to the same thing that they're realizing that they need resources and they don't need to actually take these resources on a permanent basis. Any specific thing that you guys want to add to that?
I just want to pick up a point Carol made. So this notion of not knowing what you're navigating, right? So if you think about how Uber operates, right? So if you have a good experience, you rate the driver. So Melarka, I'm just giving you some ideas about how to pick up on Carol's point. But as she was speaking, I also thought, oh, I wonder if blockchain could be useful here. Because of the whole idea of blockchain technology is to verify in a community of users, right? I've worked with Carol, I've worked with Melarka, I can tick her off as authentic or they did a good job. You need some way to be able to authenticate what the user experience has been. So you're gonna have to figure out in your platform a way for the users to be able to rate the services that they're getting, right? Because I may go back to a particular provider for something today, but that I wasn't pleased, but I need to give you that feedback so you know who you're going to put up on your platform. I don't know the mechanics of how you're going to operate it, but I want to say that this is not just exclusive to people who are working individually. So even within my organization, because I run 7 different offices, 1 in Washington and 1 in each of the countries that I manage in the Caribbean. I have staff that have special expertise, let's call it in Guyana, but I need them to be working on something in the Bahamas. So we just created this platform, a module from Salesforce. We're calling it Matchpoint, where the teams in Guyana or wherever they are in my department can put their services up, some of their time up, for use by whoever needs that particular service. The value of this is, if I have an underutilized talent in, let's call it Guyana again, but I have a huge demand in Jamaica, I can pull that talent across to where the needs are. So, you know, that's just another example of what a digital platform can do for you. You can allocate your resources more evenly, so you don't have, you know, high demand in Jamaica, but in Trinidad, you know, the portfolio is tinier, but yet they have lots of staff. And what are they doing? Well, they find things to do, but they may not necessarily be doing my core business. So that's one way to maximize, optimize your human resources as well. And also have your teams have a broader experience. So if I'm only assigned to Guyana, I've never worked on, say, a tourism-dependent economy because I'm in a commodity-producing economy, but yet I can build my skills on working on the Bahamas because I'm in Guyana through this digital platform. So that's another example for you, Melarka.
Yeah, great example. And certainly the platform does allow the rating of freelancers, agents, and also employers. Yeah, just wanted to add that in.
If you look at Amazon's success was built on a process of readily available opportunities to evaluate and to provide feedback. Apple too, but theirs was slightly different in execution. But the focus on providing that feedback, that engagement continually along the process, along the cycle, has allowed them to remain differentiated. Now, I wanted to pick up on something you said earlier. We started to talk about resources, and we're talking about, you mentioned large enterprise, and then you started to talk about small enterprise. And I know that in everything, anybody who's being introduced to anything new or any new opportunity is going to ask the question, what about me? What's in it for me? So for the participants on this webinar who may not be in a large enterprise, may not even be in a SMB, maybe a sole trader, or somebody who wants to find the avenue or the route out of the present challenges, but finds themselves without the skill set. I draw right into that, our partnership with the Flow Foundation, CNW Charitable Foundation, where we've launched last week our initiative to deal with digital inclusion or eradicate digital exclusion. And what that means is that we are working with the sole trader and the individual, providing the opportunity online to learn and start getting the digital mindset. And this is something we're bringing to the population so that you can start to get trained and start to understand what these things mean. And our partnership here with the Hive is at the end of that training process, we're going to be filtering persons into the Hive so that the skill set can now be used to get you into an employment opportunity. Sorry, not an employment opportunity only, a contracted opportunity, depending on your age, your agent stage, right? But that kind of approach also erases some of the gaps, because there are those in our society who have the wherewithal but just don't have that new skill set. And we're talking about digital being the new literacy. So you're almost now going to start talking about persons who do not understand the world of computers to be illiterate, digitally so. So everything you're seeing happening in our environment now, which is pushing to banking, online everything, the government is online, pushing people in that direction. We have to start there also by getting people comfortable with that space. And then you'll be surprised to see that some persons who have these creative juices, but did not have the ability to push them in any direction from a technology standpoint, can now do that. And then all of a sudden, you have a society that is so much more contractable. I'm going to stick with the word. Contractable rather than, and I don't mean contractable, but meaning engaging in contracts. So much more readily, and that can only augur positively for us. The last point that I'll make there is that we as an organization, as everybody knows we're always transforming. They always tease us. But we in our last current phase of transformation, because this is a never ending cycle now, one of the things that we did is we, as an ICT organization, Information Computer Technologies, is that we started to make our computer managed services, our IT services, not only available to the enterprise, but also available to the SME. So we deliver those services as a subscription-based service, which means that you don't have to go out and buy all of the computer tools. You now can lease them or subscribe to them, just like you subscribe to your cable TV service. What that does is it allows the individual, the sole trader, or the SMB to use the very same power as the enterprise. And I think that's important. So we're closing the gap with our reach in terms of the education component, and also our reach in terms of access and the tools. So it comes full circle very nicely.
Yeah, great, really great points. Yeah, so I wanted to switch the conversation up a little bit now over to the freelancer side. So we spoke about the employer and what's in it for them and based on the challenges that they're having. And I wanted to turn the question over to you now. From a freelancer perspective, why do you think a freelancer should sign up on the platform? And what are some of the challenges that their freelancer is having? And how does this platform actually help them to solve some of those challenges?
Well, I mean, I can give you a general answer. I think for me, I mean, if you have services to sell, you need a marketplace, and a good place to start is to anchor it on a platform so that people know that your services exist and they know where to reach you and so on. And all the better if you're working in a network, because that already gives you some kind of stamp of approval. I was happy to hear Carol talk about improving digital literacy, because I think that's fundamental. I mean, Prime Minister Holness announced 2 years ago he wants Jamaica to be a digital society. There are a lot of pieces that have to go to make that work, but I think I like the broad idea, because if you've ever been to a country like Estonia, and I talk about Estonia a lot because I'm so fascinated by what they've done, with your national digital ID, you don't really need anything else. It unlocks everything for you, your prescriptions at a pharmacy, your access to your kids' classroom on a live basis. You can turn on your computer and log into your kids' classroom and be communicating with the teacher. You can vote online. Wouldn't that be great if we had that already in place? What's coming up here next Thursday? You can vote online from your bed. You can do any number of all public services except one, and I'm forgetting the one that you can't do in Estonia online. I forget what it is, but there's one thing you have to appear in person. But in our region, and I'm talking Latin America and the Caribbean, 89% of all government transactions involve a face-to-face going to an office. Now that's ridiculous in 2020. That is absolutely ridiculous. And in Jamaica, it involves going more than once. I think Jamaica has the highest, of all the countries in the Caribbean we researched, you need more hours to do a transaction in Jamaica than you need to do, I think Bahamas had the lowest, or Barbados. But certainly Jamaica is the highest number of hours you have, because some transactions involve up to 3, 4, 5 visits, not just one. So clearly that's a lot of inefficiencies there. So, I want to say that, for those who have services to sell, sign up to this Hive network, because you need to get your name out there. People need to know what you offer. When we saw, if you lived in the US for any amount of time, things like Angie's List or Craig's List, or I mean, people sort of like, what the heck is that? But here's somebody saying, I used this plumber before, I used that electrician before, and they have a stamp of approval. So that's what people want, right? Short of, because if you don't know who it is, you may be reluctant to say, have Mr. So-and-so come into your house if you don't have a track record. So I think there are all kinds of advantages to this. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Definitely agree. The only thing I can possibly add to that is that freelancers, as we've said, tend to be creative people. They tend to have a particular skill, digital or not, and that's what they know. They need support usually in the business side of things, and obviously marketing themselves, putting themselves out there. They're either going to be timid to do it or not know how to do it. So there's definitely value there for them. Again, it's about getting them seen, getting them in front of people, getting them rated, getting the testimonials out there, getting them approved, you know, so that what we would call a backative for an endorsement. I think that's what the environment provides for a freelancer.
Carol, I'd go just 1 second, Melarka. I'd go a bit further. I mean, it's not just creatives, because remember, the way the future of work is evolving, you started out with this. The future of work is going to involve, as you said, more automation in whether it's factories or whether it's in financial institutions or whether it's just the way business is going to operate. And it will involve the use of more artificial intelligence, robotics, machines working side by side with human beings. So I think the 9 to 5 is rapidly becoming extinct, and people are experiencing it now in that, I don't know how many people in Jamaica are actually working from home, but let's say all of the IDB, the whole 2,500 of us or however many, plus another 1,000 or so consultants, we are all working from home still, because we have not been given the all clear to go back to our offices around the region, and even in Washington, DC, the office is closed. So there's a lot to question in the business model now, because of course everybody's saying, well, what about all that travel you used to do, Therese? I was in a plane once a week, right? Somehow for the last 6 months, I managed to do my work without getting on a plane. So does that mean IDB is going to say, no, I don't think you need to travel anymore, because look, you've been having success with Teams meetings and Zoom meetings and whatever other kinds of meetings. It works. So I think the whole adjustment to work, how we work, we did a survey of our teams around the region, and the bottom line is people are very happy working from home. There's no commute. It means there's no traffic. People are saving on their wardrobe. They're not getting their hair done as often. They're not putting on makeup and high heel shoes or whatever. I mean, there's a whole new way that we're adjusting, right? I haven't worn shoes in the last 6 months. Right? So
I actually find myself wearing my heels on a Saturday.
Okay. You go to the supermarket.
Exactly. And to the hairdresser.
Right.
And I actually, I'm in the reverse. I wear makeup at work to do the meetings. And then I actually take it off to go on the road, because makeup and mask don't agree.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no need to put on the lipstick because you have to put the mask on. And so, yeah. Anyway, women are saving money. I don't know about the guys. I don't know what they do with their discretionary income, but I know lots of women are saving money. But on a serious note, I think the whole way we work is going to be more like what you're offering, Melarka. I mean, more people will find themselves having to register their services online and having people come and say, well, I need whatever I need. Can you please find me the right accountant or the right graphic artist or the whatever, someone to be able to write up an article for me. The question is, do we need full-time employees to do that? Some institutions will continue to work. I mean, mine included. We're a multilateral development bank, so we're servicing a lot of different needs of countries in the region. So we need to have a certain amount of staff in each country and so on. But I think for a lot of businesses, it's the time to rethink the business model.
Yeah, I totally agree. And certainly one of the challenges that I've seen freelancers and agencies face is that their sources of income or their income stream can be very inconsistent. Sometimes in Jamaica, refer to it as today you're rich, tomorrow you're poor. So today you have a lot of jobs, tomorrow you don't have any job at all, so you don't have any money. And the idea then being on a marketplace like the Hive is that this will assist with providing with a more consistent source of income so that you can provide for yourself and your family and your friends, which is crucial. Now, Therese, let me ask you something. You have been like, I've watched you. You have been a really big proponent of digital. You literally believe in it, right? I think you believe in it.
Yeah.
Talk about a little bit about why you believe in digital so much. What will you see us from? Where do you see us in the Caribbean from a digital perspective, and also what role is IDB playing in creating a digital Caribbean?
Yeah, I think it's the way to leapfrog to a higher level of development. It pained me to hear that 268 schools in Jamaica couldn't function because they didn't have connectivity. That's a lot of students. And I think globally, the number is something like, I was reading it just yesterday, 400, let's call it 400 million students around the world did not have any access to learning, or don't have access to learning because of the pandemic and not being able to go physically to school. If education is so fundamental to our future, because it builds human capital, it increases productivity, we cannot have generations of kids who don't have access to good education. So on education alone, I think I'm sold, because there must be a way that we can deliver better education to children across this island. It doesn't matter, which rural town they're living in, that may not have, an all age school somewhere in some rural community in the Bahamas or Jamaica or Barbados. Those kids today, with the internet and with services, can have first-class education. Carol was talking about improving digital literacy. I mean, just about anything you want to learn now, you can find an online course, and sometimes for free. From institutions like MIT to Harvard to Cornell are offering MOOCs. The IDB has a whole lot of MOOCs online. This is massive online learning courses is the acronym. But you just have to take some time and go find those and build up your potential, because you learned a new skill. And I think lots of people over this last 6 months have been doing that. I mean, I know people who've been taking courses online and building up their resumes. So that's one. The other piece that I think is really important is that it can really open up opportunities across socioeconomic groups. So we need more people to be included into the formal economy. And this is a really good way to do it. If you don't have a digital ID, if you don't have a bank account, if you don't have, as some people do in Jamaica, no fixed address, it's really difficult to be part of the formal economy. And I think a digital platform doesn't really ask you to have a fixed address. Nobody's checking if you live in Grants Pen versus if you live on Jacks Hill, right? You have an email address, and that's what you should trade on, right? That's your address, and you know how to do these things. So I think that's one way of breaking down some barriers and flattening the opportunities for lots of people. And just efficiencies, the delivery of public services, we have to do better. I mean, the fact that in Jamaica, only 11% of government services, I think you can get your passport, you can pay your VAT taxes. I think now you can maybe get a driver's license online. I don't know, but there are very few. Only 11% of all of the services you can do online. That doesn't cut it. Think about telemedicine. Right now with the pandemic, do you really want to be going into a doctor's office? I don't think so. Why can't you have that Skype call with your doctor? And through that mechanism, face-to-face, you can describe what your problem is, and he can tell you, okay, here's a prescription, or no, I think I really need to see you in person, or you need to go to the hospital right away. But I mean, there's so many, the list is very long about the efficiencies that can be achieved by working in a digital way. Payment systems, financial transactions. Do you know that past beneficiaries in Jamaica are still issued checks in 2020? That's like 398,000 checks being printed every single month. I don't want to tell you the value of the check, but I can say printing those checks probably costs quite a bit more than maybe the value of the check, right? And then those people have to go and cash the check. Doesn't make sense. Upload that money onto a debit card that people can use. It gives them some kind of credential to walk into a financial institution. They swipe their card, they can get cash, they go to an ATM. I mean, it's all about improving the way the whole economy works, but also giving more dignity to people, right? When the Bahamas introduced its social security payments in this way, people commented on how proud they were to walk around with a debit card, right? Because previously they didn't have that. So there are all kinds of offshoots of this that are pretty powerful.
Yeah, I mean, a really, really great point, Therese. And you know, there might be persons out there asking, you know, and asking themselves, why, you know, this digital thing, how does this really benefit me? I'm not a digital practitioner. But let's look at it a little bit. You know, one of the things that really affect us, particularly in Jamaica, is the exchange rate. Everybody is affected by the exchange rate. Everybody is the fact that the Jamaican dollar actually devalues constantly. And you know, let's look at some of the reasons why that value actually devalues. You know, as a country, we really spend a lot of money on buying oil, and oil is used for transportation and all of that. And what you're seeing in a digital economy is that with persons being able to work from anytime, anywhere, for example, and with persons being able to afford access government services from the comfort of their home, they'll actually travel less. And if they're actually traveling less, then the country, they'll spend a lot less on transportation and gas bill, and you know, the country as a whole will actually, the country as a whole can buy less oil, or they can actually spend less US dollar on actually buying oil, and that's actually a really good thing. So it's actually,
we have some, Melarka, I have some cost savings information.
Sure.
So from some developed countries, Mexico, Australia, Norway, UK. In person in the UK, to do a transaction costs about 15.5 cents to do a government transaction, right? If you did it over the telephone, that's about 6 cents. If you do it digitally, it's less than 50 cents, right? That's huge savings. In Mexico, in person, 9.1 cents. Telephone, 2.3, and digitally, 45, right? 0.45. So there are definite costs, but I like how your mind is working. Transportation is a huge savings because, in fact, I think my husband said to me yesterday, I haven't filled up my car since March, right? Because we've been saving as a result of COVID. So yeah, gas prices, electricity bills, import bill, for all the things that, because we consume a lot of imported goods. And the reason why the dollar is now at 150 is because Jamaica's foreign exchange earnings have been affected by the fact that there's very few tourism receipts. And so the central bank has to figure out, okay, how do I keep this demand and supply of foreign exchange in equilibrium? They're dipping into Jamaica's foreign reserves to boost up the dollar. The governor of the central bank yesterday announced that on August 19th, they had to sell $30 million of US dollars into the market to prop up the Jamaican dollar, right? So it's already starting to have an impact. Well, it's starting to have an impact since March, but we're starting to feel how deep this can go depending on how long this crisis lasts. So there are definitely savings to be gained by doing things digitally, and especially for the government, but also for private businesses. Yeah.
We could come back to, from the savings side, we can come back to the productivity side. What we're seeing even in the work world is that working at home, that transition has actually resulted in stress. Persons are doing more meetings per day, accomplishing more. And what has happened is that you spoke about things like traffic. You're not spending 4 hours a day going to and from. Those 4 hours are now productive hours. the focus of most persons has become task-oriented versus time-oriented. So at the end of the day or during the day, you're more focused on what have I accomplished rather than, is it lunchtime? Is it time to go pick up? Is it time to drive out because I have to sit in the 2 hours to get home? And then when I get home, I'm not going to pick up the laptop now, I'm tired. And so the management, the self-management now becomes, I need to stop. I need to stop and I need to take a break because I'm getting tired. So you have the productivity side of it. Now, as you talk about exchange rate, foreign exchange, yes, correct. Our major earner has been hospitality, and that industry is challenged, and therefore our income and our earnings are going down. But we are also looking at other ways to earn. Not that we want hospitality to go anywhere, but we do need to manage our dependencies and the proverbial eggs in one basket. So this digital focus, dealing with the exclusion and making it inclusion, as we said before, increases the pool of persons who are participating. The more we carry them along from being users of the technology to deal with government services, et cetera, this is just the basic survival, and convert that into income earning and convert that into contracts, then somewhere along the line, that will trickle into income for the country. All right, our spending power will go up, etc., and everything. Now, I had opportunity to do academic study on the matter of digital inclusion, so it's a topic that's very close to me. And if you do take a look at the numbers, and I don't have the statistics in my head, but the countries in Europe who put focus on projects, social projects around digital inclusion, they saw like 30% improvement in their economies having done so. So we're talking about digital inclusion right now as a necessity to get through a pandemic and a necessity to do things now. But it actually is the way that we needed to have been going in order to diversify our own products, our own people, and strengthen ourselves technologically. Some persons that we have, local persons who have written books about Jamaica being the Silicon Valley of the Caribbean. Now the skill set is here. The skill set needs to come into the Hive so that they can be seen, known, and utilized, and so we can get that thing turning. Yeah. So you'd be very surprised to see how something that you could think of as being so simple, and that is the concept of what the Hive is trying to be doing, can be so powerful and so impacting across the board. Right. So,
and as you say that, Carol, I'm also thinking, Melarka, that it would be good if you collect a lot of data as you start. So I would do a baseline, because you can track who's on the Hive, starting at whatever date you want, what they're earning at the beginning, and 6 months later, down 2 years later, because it'll be good to have this information to be able to measure the impact, right? What Carol is talking about, because you could be offering your services not just to the Jamaican marketplace. Your services, you now have the global marketplace at your fingertips if you're operating over the internet. And I think that's, talking about knowledge economy, if you look at how the United States economy has advanced, or any developed country has advanced, they move away from the lower skilled jobs and all the way up to the high skilled jobs, which are those that involve knowledge, information, technology, and monetizing that through patents or intellectual property that can be sold globally. And the edge in the future will be on the knowledge economy, not on, sad to say, how many tomatoes I can produce or lettuce I can produce. I think those are important. Agriculture is really important. But even in agriculture, there is technology that can be applied to agriculture to improve productivity. So sky is the limit with technology, I think.
Yeah, Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Let me just drop it while Teresa was talking. I just remembered my daughter. Not that I forget her, but I remember her. My daughter is deaf, and one of the other opportunities for the Hive is to help communities like the deaf community. They don't like to be called disabled, because for them they are not. They actually think they live a better life than we do because we have too much noise. So it's not a disability for them. It's a different language. But we tend to, by classifying them that way, we tend to exclude them again from this type of a conversation. But you may or may not be surprised to know how much skill is residing among that segment of our community, and we need not leave them out. My daughter, her aspiration was to become a fashion designer. I actually took her through 2 years at Edna Manley studying that, and I had to be the interpreter for the class. I have no design skill. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, but I went with her and I interpreted all of her classes and said, I'm telling you what the teacher said, it's your job to understand it. You know, and so she got through and she did very well. But that's the example of the skill that we are accustomed to. Today, she is a level 6 creator with some of these online spaces, all right? Which means she designs avatars and she designs houses, she does settings in these online spaces. She is considered to be famous in that space. Famous, when I say famous, I'm talking like, what do you say, Tom Cruise type famous. Everybody knows her. And she's recommended on Instagram, and it's like it trickles into the real space. But the point is she's level 6. So since the pandemic, people have actually been engaging her in that space to teach them how to become creators.
There you go.
All right. So it's a really good, and this is without the Hive.
Right.
And without my assistance, because she's learned the technology by herself. I had nothing to do with it. At the end of Edna Manley, that was me. But she went, and to your point, Teresa, she went and she took advantage of all the online tools. She purchased her tools, her design tools on her she moved from PC to Mac on her own, recognizing that that was a better environment for her to do the designing. And she grew herself from level 0 to level 6. And she's now training. And that's somebody with a disability, you know. So I encourage you to extend, as I am encouraging our foundation, to extend this opportunity for digital inclusion, and then the rest of the journey to every segment of the market, even those that didn't come readily to mind.
Yeah, I'm so glad you raised that point, because of course, the disabled is a part of the economy that we generally don't think of as being productive. The public policy approach to the disabled community is that they need support, and not that they can be productive citizens. So everything can be turned on its head. I just love that example. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that example, Carol. Congratulations to you. Congratulations
to your daughter. Yeah.
Definitely. And, you know, interestingly, one of the things that, one of the problems I think that, you know, marketplace like the Hive can actually help us to solve is brain drain that we predominantly experience in the Caribbean. You know, just generation after generation, you know, we just think that, okay, we have to go to another country, we have to go to America, we have to go to Canada, and we have to go to England or Asia, wherever it is that we have to actually go to get a better life. But, you know, if we look at what's happening here, you know, if we can actually work from right here in the Caribbean for companies right across the world, there's no need for us to migrate anymore. You know, as I like to say, we'd actually get to experience the best of both worlds. You know, we're working abroad and we're living here in a really, really good climate.
And if you want to extend that, it's actually better for our overall environmental sustainability, because travel is really detrimental to our environment and climate change. I mean, carbon emissions from airline travel is the worst. We still haven't figured out a way to reduce that. I mean, no amount of offsetting the carbon footprint as a result of taking a flight. It's actually doing it because every time we jump on a plane or we get in a car, you know, we're doing something that's not good for the environment. So that's just another way in which we can help save this planet as well. But on that point of not having to migrate to sell your services to earn a living, if there is a digital platform, again, Jamaicans with skills, it doesn't matter what they are. The world is your marketplace. If you're a software developer, if you're a musician, if you are a lyric writer, whatever it is, there is a marketplace, an animator, a deaf developer of content for animation. I mean, it's just, it boggles the mind what we can do with this kind of platform. I mean, we're having this discussion on Zoom and it feels like I'm in your space. I mean, it doesn't feel any different because I feel like we're in the same room. If we didn't have COVID, we would be sitting in a room together in an air-conditioned space, you know, having a chat. And I think at the end, you know, it's wonderful to be like that with other human beings, but we're not stopping the fact that we need to produce this content today for your program, and other people can listen in, and maybe that wasn't available to them before, right? We'd have to assemble them in a room at the Pegasus or wherever. That would cost money, and here is it's not costing us much to be doing this today apart from our time. So yeah, tons of savings and tons of opportunities, I think, in the future.
Great point.
Are you interacting with your audience, whether there are any questions for us or anything?
We're actually going to be taking questions in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
In about 5 minutes, we're going to be taking questions. So, Carol, I wanted to find out from you, just tell us, you know, from Kim and Wireless Business Flow Foundation, why you decided to partner with Ingenuity on this initiative.
All right, yeah, I think that's it's a good question. We decided to partner because what the Hive is doing is directly in line with our mission and our commitment to the society. Our mission statement was connecting communities and transforming lives, and it's something that we do and we focus on every day. And we try to do it in a proactive way as well. So we want to be, one of my favorite things ever to say, and I don't know if I ever get into any forum and not say this, Cable and Wireless brought the first telephone to Jamaica 7 years after Alexander Graham Bell patented the technology. And that says a lot. Yes, what it tells you is that we are on the cusp of technology. We are not waiting for demand. We're bringing things before people even ask for it or even understand it. We want to have it there, and we try to be forward thinking. And so as we traverse the journey, as I said, things like the transition to knowledge workers and knowledge economy, etc. These are things we've been talking about for a couple of years. It's manifesting itself now, but we've been working towards and trying to facilitate it. We are the enablers of the society. That's how we see ourselves. We're enablers of the economy, enablers of the people. So we start early. We want to get that out. So we're always looking for partners and partnerships that help to advance that and that provide opportunity for people, technology, and anything else that can lift the individual and lift the business. And so that's why we will do this. Our initiative, as I said before, is focused on providing literacy, computer literacy, technology literacy for the SMB, the individual, the sole trader, the person who recognizes and needs the help. That's who it's for. And we saw a really, really good opportunity. We don't like things without an end, a means to an end. We started as the voice and data company, but voice first, then data. But it wasn't just voice for the sake of voice. It was the voice so that we could communicate, collaborate, share ideas, and grow. It wasn't data so that we could throw things at each other. It was data so that we could collaborate, we could create, and we can grow. We want to put connectivity all over the country, and that is always our drive, and we're on that mission consistently. But as we put out connectivity, it's not just for connectivity's sake, it is why are we connecting? And Teresa mentioned earlier, connecting schools. There's a drive for us that we are doing, but there's a lot of schools out there and some of them are quite remote. So things take time, and this is happening. It's not that we're not doing these things, but we do them and then think about when that service or that connectivity is done, what are we going to do next? So in creating the space for digital inclusion, digital upskilling, what's next? The next place is, what do I do now that I have the skill? So it was a natural partnership that came about at the right time to complete that vision. And I'm sure we're not going to stop there. We're going to be looking on the what's next after that. So that's the motivation. And I have great joy in anticipating the success that we're going to have in the outcomes of the people who are going to benefit.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. Well said. You know, the next thing I want to touch on a little bit is, so we definitely want employers to sign up and get one of these packages that's targeted for employers. You know, employers have a lot of challenges right now. It's a really tough time. And one of the challenges that they have is on two fronts. One, the fact that they essentially need the best talent, and they need the best talent at the right time, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be permanent talent, but you need experts. You need experts within your field, and you need them at the right time, because that can actually make or break your business. So it's very important that you have access to these various experts when you actually need them at the right time. It can also assist them to control their costs. That's really important, because instead of a lot of companies having this monthly overhead cost on their books, they can actually very selectively decide to ramp up or ramp down as the need arises through a freelancer or through an agency. So we definitely want employers out there to go up and go out and sign up on one of these packages. Visit us, www.thehivefreelancing.co, and actually sign up for one of these packages. Yeah. All right, so I'm actually going to open up the floor to questions now from our audience. We just want to answer as much questions as possible. All right, so I'm actually seeing, I don't know if we're going to be able to hear those questions, but I'm actually seeing a couple of questions in the chat. I'll actually go through them. So the platform said, one of the questions talks about how is the platform different from other platforms, like for example, Upwork. So love that question. All right, so the idea behind the Hive is that we wanted to have a platform for the Caribbean that actually had the best talents in terms of freelancers and agencies within the Caribbean. And those talents will be predominantly nearshore, meaning that they're going to be on the same time zone that our target clients are on. They speak the same language, and they have a very, very similar cultural affinity to the target market, which is cultural affinity to the market that we're actually targeting. So that's one of the ways that we're actually different. The other way that we're different is we're able to provide, we are collecting a lot of data, and we're actually mining that data, and we're going to be using that data to actually drive businesses and drive the economies right across the Caribbean. So for example, you look at, like, for example, like Jampro, right? One of the things that you know, Jampro goes out, and like a Jampro is a promotion agency that actually promotes Jamaica to the world. Now, whenever investors decide that they want to look at the Caribbean or they want to look at Jamaica specifically as a market, you know, they need certain specifics. They need certain statistics around, you know, what's happening in the market from a labor perspective. So if they're looking to outsource services to Jamaica, for example, if they're looking to set up an office in Jamaica, they don't want to know, they need engineers. They're going to need to know, okay, how many engineers are in Jamaica? What verticals do these engineers have experience working in? How many years experience they have you know, what's their technical competence, what languages do they actually know. Now, we have not been able to, before now, we have not actually been able to provide this data, really provide this data to potential investors. And how does that affect us? Other times that actually allows us to miss out on foreign direct investment. You know, which you know, whenever you have foreign direct investment, that just creates a ripple effect right across the economy. So that's one of the things that the Hive is going to be able to do. It's going to be able to provide this data, you know, to the government, so that the government can actually use it for planning. Let me look at some other questions. All right, so I'm just seeing general comments that's actually saying that it was actually a very informative session, and persons actually learned a lot from what we actually spoke about. All right, so in terms of what you can expect, in terms of what you can expect next from the Hive. This is just the start. You know, in terms of what we're doing right now, this is what you'd call, if you're in the tech field, what you'd call a minimum viable product, or it's essentially the first iteration of what we're actually doing. Certainly from a roadmap perspective, we want to add different categories to the Hive. That's one of the things that we want to do, and we want to certainly target more markets. You know, we're the best companies. The idea is that we want to onboard more companies, more employers, more agencies from right across the Caribbean. And we certainly want to reach out to global organizations right across the world, tell them about what we're doing, get them to add their business to the Hive and actually post their projects on the Hive. We know that this is something that can work, you know, because companies across the world, however big they are, they're really looking at the Caribbean as a place. And I think that the biggest example of that is our conventional BPO market. That's like a $800 million US $800 million gorilla. That's probably maybe about 0.4% of GDP. And that's growing really fast. That's one of our fastest growing industry. And a majority of that money actually comes from companies from all over the world. Exporting services into Jamaica. What that says to me is that one, persons are looking at this region as a place that they can do business with, and two, as they get more comfortable actually exporting their services here, they're certainly going to move up into the value chain and move up to digital. So that's something that I'm really excited about. So, you know, any last few words from you, Therese, Carol?
Sure, just briefly. I mean, Carol started off by mentioning what Amazon has been doing, right? And how they use the customer feedback to constantly improve. And I was thinking about, you know, Amazon has a whole area of business, Amazon Web Services. I mean, that's a whole other set of services that they're offering. I once, at the IDB, we had someone there from Amazon who said, you know, some of our offshore business we do in Costa Rica, but we've basically maxed out on how many English speakers there are in Costa Rica. And we need to find more places to do English speaking work. And I just like, I have a whole region for you. I still don't know why we haven't been able to attract that kind of business in Jamaica, because I think the talent is here, the space is here, the macroeconomic environment is right. And that's that's where the Hive to me can grow to be that AWS of Amazon, right? If you think about it properly, and you want to eventually try to make those alliances, Melarka, don't think big, right? Don't just think it's, all right, I'm dealing with a few freelancers here in Jamaica or around this region, but that can very quickly grow. I mean, Carol's example of her daughter, who is deaf, now having clients all over the world. selling her services is, I don't know, you can't get a better example than that. And that's when one individual decides that her potential can be maximized by doing the research, learning, building some skills, and just doing it. And I think that's what we have to get the mindset in the Caribbean to be, that it's our mindset that's holding us back, nothing else really. And if we think of the world as the marketplace, there's nothing we can't do, because as you say, the Caribbean is an interesting place for a lot of investors. They're looking to find these places. We have announcements like PM Motley the other day, who's saying, I'm offering you a 1-year visa if you want to come work from home from Barbados. Every single Caribbean country should do the same thing. That's foreign exchange, right? Someone has to come, rent a place. The person's hanging out, they need to eat, they will pay bills. That's foreign exchange earnings, right? So we just have to be more creative about what these opportunities are and go for it. So thanks so much for having me. It's been fun. And I enjoy being with Carol and you this afternoon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Therese.
Yeah, thank you. I've enjoyed the conversation as well. And I actually will end where Teresa left off. It is a global stage, and the only thing stopping you is you. And that's for the Hive, and that's for everybody participating on this call. That's for the organizers of this call. That's for me, that's for Teresa, it's for everybody. So live your dream. Now is the time to identify your passion, go after it, skill up in that area, and allow your passion to become your vocation, to become your career. It's never work, they say, if you enjoy what you do. So start thinking about what you enjoy. Get this, where your skills are, your natural talents. Don't allow yourself to be put in a box, and then pass that through the Hive so that you can get the world to see you. It's going to be a very, very, very good stage, and it's homegrown, and we need to support it. So my encouragement is go live your dreams, make your dreams a reality, and use the tools and the persons who care. And I know for the Hive, I know for Teresa, I know for myself and my organization, we're businesses, but we care. We want to see everybody excel and everybody do well. Yeah, will our organizations benefit? Sure. But is that our fundamental driver? I don't really think so. We work because we have a particular passion, and the passion actually is around you, meaning everybody, people. So trust what's available to you, jump on. It can't hurt you to jump on. You can only get positive out of it. And let go for the journey. Just take the step, do what you have to do. I see the question there, how do we get started, which is a good question. Make sure you get the answer before you get off of this webinar, and just go for it. You have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. Melarka, thank you so much, you and the team, for the solution, because it is a solution, for bridging the divide and making this an opportunity that any and everybody can avail themselves. Teresa, I thank you so much for the conversation. I've enjoyed talking with you. I'm happy to see that we have a lot of mind share, and I know that we are going to take that to greater levels too. So we'll be doing more. So guys, thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.